I don't know why whenever I do these videos, my nose whistles. Anyway, today we're going to take this photo, and I shot this landscape because I wanted to blow it up and put it on my wall, which it's right there. You can't see it, but it is, I promise you. And we're going to format it and edit it for Instagram because I don't like putting wide pictures on Instagram. I like 4x5. You get the most amount of real estate possible. So if we were to do that right now, I'll show you what it would look like. I'll go 4x5, cut it down. Like, sure you could, but it doesn't. I just want it to be wider. I want to be able to take in the scene a little bit better, right? So I'm just not super happy with the composition of that. I'd rather make it better, I guess. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll edit it first, then we'll bring it into Photoshop, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So what we're gonna start off with, it's obviously a sunset shot, so we're gonna want it to be a little warmer. So we'll adjust the white balance. Yeah, so I like to make a slight white balance adjustment at the start, and then as I play around with the color grading, the vibrance and saturation, we'll make the final tweaks at the end. I think everything kind of comes together. So here we'll turn down the vibrance, we'll turn up the saturation. It gives it that pop without making it look too weird, if that makes sense. So what do I want to do here? We'll turn up the contrast a bit. Yeah, actually a lot, because we'll get a lot of shadows at golden hour. We get this harsh light, right? And then we'll turn up dehaze a little bit because it is kind of hazy. Yeah, sharpen it up. And then we'll bring, I actually really like how the shadows look everywhere, but the car is still a little dark. So what we're going to do is choose the subject. Sometimes seeing what is selected on the subject can be tricky when it's a red car and you have this red overlay. So I think there's a way to change that. I just don't know what it is, and I honestly don't care enough to do it. It's close enough, right? So we'll turn up the exposure very slightly because obviously most of what we're seeing here of the car is in the shadows. So we'll turn up the shadows to bring out some of the details in the car. And we don't want to do too much, right? So you see, I like how you can see the diffuser, you can see the wheels, you can see the side skirts, but here is a little bit too bright. So what we could do is a few things. First, we could turn down the highlights quite a bit and see how that looks. It does work pretty nice. I'm actually going to leave that because I do like it. But the other thing I was going to suggest is you can take a brush and just kind of go over this area and then turn the highlights or the exposure down to your liking. Because we don't want it to be all as dark as back here because obviously the sun does hit. You can see the lines of the car a lot better over here. So we'll take the clarity up, texture up. Like I said, it gives it a little bit more grit in the frame, allows you to look at it a little bit better. So now I like how the water is got some aqua color in there. So I don't know if it's the midtones or the shadows, probably more the midtones. So we'll click on here in the color grading section, bring the midtones over and make them a little bit more aqua. See what that affects. Okay. Don't mind it. We'll go to the highlights and make them yellow or an orange and see if that, yeah, I like that. So that works, right? That balance, because then it gives a little bit more aqua-y vibes over here. But then the overall frame is a little warmer still. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to come up here and turn the white balance up a little bit more as well. Just warm this thing up. Okay. And then I'm going to turn down the highlights a little bit too. Just because obviously on the car, the highlights are a little aggressive. There's still something slightly off. I think we'll bring the blacks down a little bit. Ooh, I think that was it. Yeah, that sharpens it up a little bit. And then one last thing is we can introduce a little bit of warmth into the shadows. Actually, let's see what happens when we bring some cool tones into the shadows versus warm tones. This is where you get to play around and get weird. Yeah, see, I don't like that. Doesn't work. But if we bring them over here and warm the shadows up, yeah, that looks better. I like that. Yeah, go from that to that. Actually, overall, I'm just going to bring the exposure down just a touch too. I find sunset shots can be tricky trying to get the exposure set up properly. You know, that's just the nature of them. There's so much different lighting. Like you get super dark shadows, but then obviously the super bright highlights. And something too, I can see on my computer, I don't know, you probably won't be able to see it on your phone, but it's a little grainy. Like I shot this a couple years ago, and I just learned a few things over the years how to expose a little bit better. So this is an older shot, so I didn't actually do what I needed to. So look at the blacks here and the reds. You can see this grain, like it doesn't look super great. So here you go to detail. You can use the denoise AI, which works really good, but there's not enough here for me to need it. So you can just go here, manual noise reduction, where it's luminance, and just drag it up maybe 15, 20, and let it load. And you'll see these areas will sharpen and kind of be a little bit less grainy. See, there you go. So they smoothed out, I should say. They didn't sharpen, but then you can bring it here so there's less noise, but you can still sharpen the image. So then it just sharpens it up with a little bit less noise. And just like that, I find it works great. And very happy with how that looks. And we'll just do a little before and after. So that's before. And that's after. Okay, so I'd say the base grade is done. What we're going to do now, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of the aqua out of the midtones. I think it's still a little bit much. Like just a little bit. I'm super picky though. Okay, that works. Now what we'll do, bring this motherfucker into Photoshop, you know what I'm saying? So now we'll bring it into Photoshop. Oh, I gotta pee so bad. Another one, Photoshop. This is assuming that you've upgraded to the most recent version of Photoshop with generative AI. So if you haven't, do that. So here we're gonna go and change this to 4:5. Now, what generative AI does is it's going to take these areas here that don't have any information. See, earlier I said I didn't want the car to be as squished in the frame. So what we're going to do is widen this up. So I'd say that's a pretty okay amount. So when I hit generate, these white bars here are going to become generated. AI is going to create that. So yeah, in a way it's kind of cheating, but at the same time, you got to use the tools that you have at your disposal, right? I used to kind of freak out about AI taking my job, but AI is not really going to be able to book shoots, go out, like find clients, book shoots, go out, shoot the cars, think of different angles, get creative, understand how to use a camera. Like it does stuff like this, right? And that's not to say eventually it won't, but you can never really take away that creative personal touch. And just like that, we got an Instagram image that I think captures this scene a lot better. And here you have a couple different options. So if you look at the bottom and the top here, these will generate different. So you can kind of choose which one you think looks the best. I actually really like this one, the second one. It's all subtle, but we're going to go with that one. So you hit Command S, you save it, and we'll go back into Lightroom. And then now I can print this, put it on my wall, but I can have it landscape or horizontal, but I can also post it on Instagram, have essentially the same shot, just formatted properly for Instagram, right? So that is still loading in. Sorry, cease. Boom. So now there's the Instagram shot. We can export that. Toss her on the old gram. Good to go. All right. So that's that. If you want any more tips and tricks, let me know what you want to see down below. What's next?